Welcome to my forest. Today's story is about trees. Not just any old tree, but a wonderful book by Alan Zweibel called Our Tree Named Steve. And my best guess it's rather autobiographical, which means it's a real story told, and it's told in a letter form. So I'm actually going to read you from this book, and occasionally, if you'd like, I'll show you a picture. For those of you who are listening, just listening and not seeing, I recommend that you look us up here at the Mentor Project on Facebook, YouTube, and then you can see this book. It's a wonderful book, and the author is quite wonderful all by himself. I'm going to read you a little bit about him. His name is Alan Zweibel, and he was one of the original writers for Saturday Night Live. He's won numerous Emmy and Writers Guild Awards for his work in television, which include, but not just include, the Gary Sandling Show, which he created and produced, PBS's Great Performances, Curb Your Enthusiasm, and he co-produced a show with Billy Crystal on Broadway. He was really quite amazing, and I would introduce you to him, but I don't know him except for this book and his amazing work. So he wrote this story as a letter to his family, to his children. And I'm going to read it right from his book. There will not be one puppet in this except, if you can imagine, a puppet tree. I also wanted to introduce you to my background. I love trees. There's lots to be learned from a tree. As a matter of fact, on my hat that I wear to keep myself nice and cool and the sun off my face, look what it says. This is called Advice from a Tree. Ready? Go out on a limb, stand tall and proud, remember your roots, enjoy the view. So I'm going to, because the sun is shining on me, wear my hat while I read my story. And just draw your attention for a second. The tree I made as a backdrop for his stories, I even told them to you. And every time I get a chance to paint, I paint trees probably because they stand still, as opposed to humans who I love equally well. So that one over there I did in 2014 on an island. And this one over here I did at camp. We went with our family camp. And this one here also at a family camp. So it seems whenever I get the opportunity to paint, I paint trees. I think that's something to be said for the wisdom of the tree. So I'm going to read you this story. I want you to listen and see what you learn from it. Because a good book, has much to teach. And I do not want to forget the amazing artwork of David Ketro, who did these fabulous pictures. I'm going to just open it up to the very first page so you can, I think I'll do the cover. Then you can meet Steve. I have a Steve in my front yard. I just named him Steve, so that's the truth. I love that he is called Steve because it reminds me of this book. So if you're ready, here's how it goes. Dear kids, a long time ago when you were little, Mom and I took you to where we wanted to build a house for us to live in. But in order to live there, men had to come and clear the land. I remember there was one tree, however, that the three of you couldn't stop staring at. Adam thought it was crying. Lindsay said it looked nervous. And Sari, who was only 2 years old, couldn't pronounce the word tree and called it Steve. I love you, Steve, she kept saying. And then Adam and Lindsay started saying it too. And before too long, Mom and I got the hint and asked the builder to please save Steve. The day we moved in, Steve was there to greet us. He quickly worked his way into your lives as a swing holder, target, third base, hiding place, jump rope turner, and whenever our dryer broke down, he held our underwear with pride. Yes, right in the center of our yard, this weird-looking tree grew to become the center of our outdoor life. Through all our barbecues, campouts, dance parties, or when Adam and Lindsay started getting crushes on the Simon kids next door, Steve adjusted to our every need. Time for a picture. And it wasn't always easy. Standing tall through snowstorms in the winter, or when Uncle Chester napped in the hammock, couldn't possibly be fun. Not to mention the time that the sewer overflowed and Steve sucked up all the smelly water before it drowned Kirby, the dog. Then got so sick himself that the tree doctor had to give Steve a haircut that made him look like a big thumb. Through the years, Mom and I have tried to show you, in a world filled with strangers, the peace that comes with having things you can count on and a safe place to return to after a hard day or a long trip. Which brings me to the point of this letter. Last week, a storm hit our area, and though we spared Steve's life a long time ago, this time we couldn't save him. Are we sad? Sure we are. But even in his final moments, when he could have fallen on our house, Sorry Swings, Kirby's house, or Mom's garden, Steve performed his last trick and protected all of us to the very end. And friends like this are hard to find. So when you come home from Grandma's next week, Steve will not be able to greet you as he's done in the past. I'm sorry. But please know that Steve will always be with us, in our hearts, in our thoughts, and in a different tree at a different end of the yard. See you next week. Love, Dad. Tells us a lot about the things we grow attached to, and my hat's off to Alan Zweibel, who wrote a letter to, I believe, his kids. And even if he didn't, maybe he wrote him for us. People like Alan Zweibel are mentors. That means that they teach. They teach through their own way. He is a comic writer and a children's book writer and as a producer. So whatever you do, remember the people who take care of you, who love on you, who mentor you, and who make sure that you are never left alone, except maybe when you sit under a tree and read a good book, just like this one, Our Tree Named Steve. Thank you so much, Alan Zweibel, and I hope you all have a tree-filled day.